The First Coast is watching 17 JKS.
10 seconds. Stand by.
Live from Channel 17. This is First Coast News.
Good evening. Controversy about a racial remark by a Callahan official comes to a head. Council President Jack Sykes met with residents this afternoon to apologize, only to hear about much deeper problems. Mike Tank has the story.
Ain't none of that junk in my heart.
Council President Jack Sykes hopes the controversy surrounding him is over. He hopes his apology is accepted.
You know, I'm sorry that it happened, and it's just one of those things, and all I can do is just beg your forgiveness.
Sykes' apology is for an alleged remark he made during a recent meeting. He was quoted as saying council members deserve raises because they work as hard as niggers. Town officials received threatening phone calls following the remark, and they decided it was necessary to meet with citizens. But the citizens told them the problems in the town extend far beyond Sykes' remarks.
I know it wasn't just you, but it's a time bomb in Callahan.
For some blacks here in Callahan, the controversy surrounding Jack Sykes represents a larger underlying problem with unfairness here. And they hope the recent attention brought to this problem will lead to solutions.
This has become a sounding block for all the aches and pains that's in Nassau County that nobody hasn't been expressed before. And maybe the words you spoke were from our maker. Maybe it was time for these things to come out, and he put those words in your mouth.
And it's time for us as people in Nassau County to get together and stop being prejudiced.
Local NAACP leader Willie Mathis says racism is a problem, but unfairness is a greater issue. He says blacks in the community need better services and fair treatment from the city.
When we get into unfairness, then racism automatically get in because you're dealing with the racist. So I think we always get into that. We will no longer allow, and we cannot allow, this city to be torn apart by these type of actions from our elected officials.
Many people at the meeting forgave Sykes for his alleged remarks, but they say they won't be as forgiving if nothing is done to help improve the community. With photographer Frank McBride, Mike Tank, 17 First Coast News.
Town officials listened to today's complaints and vowed to improve services in the community for all people. Divers will search through the night for a missing University of Florida student. Lance Crawford went cave diving in this sinkhole last night with another student and never surfaced. Rescuers believe Crawford may not have seen his buddy's signal to end the dive and may have become lost in the cave. The cave extends for more than a half mile going under Interstate 75. Divers say the search will continue until Crawford is found. Passengers aboard a Delta flight on its way to Fort Lauderdale got quite a scare today. As the plane approached the airport, it lost decompression in the cabin. The pilot had to drop the plane to a lower altitude to about 14,000 feet before regaining control. The 757 landed safely and none of the 158 passengers were hurt. The aircraft had taken off from Hartford, Connecticut. The pilot of an experimental plane was forced to make an emergency landing on Interstate 75 this morning after an oil line on the engine broke. Fortunately, there was no traffic on the Broward County roadway at the time. The pilot reportedly repaired the problem and planned on taking off from the highway after getting clearance from the FAA. A promising new AIDS drug is being tested in Tampa. The drug apparently kills cells infected with the virus that causes AIDS. It's called GLQ-223. 19 people infected with HIV are getting the drug in the Tampa trial.
It seems to me that it's a promising drug to a degree because it has a different activity as AZT. And we need all the help that we can get to try to control this virus at the different stages of its life cycle.
The drug AZT helps stop infected cells from reproducing. If the new drug proves to kill the cells altogether, it could be more effective. The president's meeting at Camp David is over, and so far there's been no announcements concerning talks with Iraq. President Bush sat down with his top security advisors to decide what to do about Iraq's continued refusal to allow United Nations weapons inspectors into a building in Baghdad. A White House spokesperson says the president will continue to consult with the United Nations and with other countries, and that Mr. Bush is considering the full range of options for making Iraq comply with UN resolutions. A published report says President Bush and Vice President Dan Quayle seriously discussed replacing Quayle on the Republican ticket. The Washington Post quotes close associates of both men as saying Bush and Quayle spent 10 days discussing what would happen if Quayle were to leave the ticket and seeking advice on the matter. The paper says the talks resulted in a decision to stick with Quayle. Florida lawmakers are under attack by a Tampa newspaper tonight. The Tampa Tribune found that 1 out of every 4 Florida lawmakers took trips in 1991. Most of the trips were paid for by trade groups, government agencies, and others. Among those enjoying trips out of the country were House Speaker T.K. Wetherell of Daytona Beach and Representative Charlie Roberts of Titusville. Governor Childs has 4 different private companies pay for a trip, during which he dressed as Santa Claus and handed out toys to the needy. Bayport said goodbye today to a valuable ship. The USS Vreeland was turned over to the Greek Navy and renamed the HS Macedonia. The exchange is part of a 50-month lease agreement between the two nations. For 22 years, the Vreeland served the United States throughout the world, carrying out anti-submarine missions. Now the Greeks will use the ship for the same purpose.
It shows that our equipment is still good, and there are other people who want to use it.
You may remember the exchange was all set to take place on June 30th, but it was apparently delayed until today because Congress had to work out the details. Still to come on 17 First Coast News. So you think you're a strong swimmer? Try swimming 3.5 miles in the open sea. That story's ahead. And later, the U.S. Olympic basketball team isn't the only one shooting for the gold during the summer games.
And the typical summer rains continue through parts of the state. What about tomorrow? Have the forecast coming up next.
Each year, J.D. Power and Associates surveys...
White supremacist accused of killing a black Mayport sailor is underway. That tops our Week in Review. George Loeb is charged with murdering Harold Mansfield in the parking lot of a Neptune Beach supermarket last year. The two were reportedly arguing when Loeb pulled out a gun and shot the sailor. The defense says Loeb killed Mansfield in self-defense after the sailor came at him with a brick. But several witnesses testified Mansfield dropped the brick before he was shot. The trial resumes Monday. Jacksonville's public housing came under attack Tuesday on Capitol Hill. City leaders admitted in front of a congressional panel they knew methane gas was leaking from an old toxic dump at Gulfbrook Terrace, and a daycare center would have to be shut down. Later in the week, residents met with HUD Director Paul Tanner. He denied the Capitol Hill testimony, saying the daycare center is safe. Tests will be conducted on Gulfbrook beginning Monday to see if the residents are in any danger. HRS is once again under attack. A Jacksonville man plans on suing the agency, claiming 2 children he adopted were raped while in HRS custody. Also, after the adoptions, he learned that one is infected with gonorrhea. HRS will not tell the adoptive father who had the children before him, and they've sealed their files. The man has apparently hired an attorney. Under state law, the maximum amount he could win is $200,000. There are about 60 lifeguards who are very glad to be on dry land tonight. The group hit the water this morning for the 59th annual Menonac Ocean Marathon Swim. Participants swam 3.5 miles from the Leader Inn to the Jacksonville Beach Lifeguard Station. The swim is an important event for the members of the Red Cross Volunteer Life-Saving Corps.
Well, I think any time when you get a chance to, hone your skills or go for a little more than you do on an average day, it helps them, and of course it's good for morale.
Today's swim was dedicated to Van Kirkpatrick, who died last February. He participated in 32 Menonac swim events, and apparently the last one when he was in his 70s.
Oh, my God.
That. Gorgeous day to be at the beach. That video looks great.
That's right. It was a great day to be at the beach because it was very hot today. We got up to 95. At 5 o'clock, the heat index was still at 103. So It was definitely very warm today.
One of the first weekends we've had in a long time without thunderstorms.
That's right.
So
far. We want to keep our fingers crossed, but it looks like for most of the rest of the evening, we're not going to get any rain, at least here on the First Coast. Now, some folks are getting some rain over in the Live Oak area, but it looks like here on the First Coast, we're going to be fairly rain-free for the rest of this evening. Right now at the airport, they're rain-free. They have mostly sunny skies and a temperature of 94. The humidity is at 4%. Pressure is holding, or actually it's rising now. It's reading 30.21 inches. Winds are out of the southwest at 9 miles an hour. This morning's low is 75, and the high made it up to 95 degrees. We do have another tropical depression to talk about. This is tropical depression number 2, and here are the coordinates for that, 30.3 north and 62 west, and that's about 200 miles southeast of Bermuda. Right now, the movement is to the north-northeast at 7 miles an hour with maximum sustained winds only at 30 miles an hour and beginning to die out. So we're not going to have to worry about this tropical depression here on the First Coast. Here's a look at the closer radar shot actually a satellite shot, showing just a few high clouds over the first coast. And right here we are seeing a few thunderstorms begin to develop all the way from Valdosta down to Live Oak. Fortunately for us, these are moving to the north at 10 miles an hour. So here on the first coast, we expect to see just a few partly cloudy skies for tonight. It's going to be another warm evening out there with overnight lows anywhere between 72 and 76 degrees. Our sunset at 8:25, and once the sun does set, that'll help take some of the energy away from those storms. We've had a lot of storms throughout parts of the Midwest, including Kansas, and also some flooding in Kentucky. You can see a band of thunderstorms moving up through Indiana and over into Illinois. Back over into Kansas and over in Nebraska, they've had some heavy thunderstorms in Fairbury, Nebraska. They had 8.5 inches in the past 24 hours, and also heavy rains down throughout Kansas and Kansas City, Missouri, as a matter of fact. In July, this has been the rainiest July on record for them, with 10.5 inches so far this month. Tomorrow, the rains are going to continue throughout the center section of the United States as high pressure continues to keep us fairly dry. We still could see a slight possibility of a few afternoon thunderstorms, with the best possibility being over in Tallahassee. They have a chance, about a 40% chance tomorrow, of a few thunderstorms with 95 for their high. Tampa will be at 94. Elsewhere, 94 over in St. Augustine, Orlando, 92, Brunswick, 90, and Cape Canaveral, if you're heading down there for a visit and a tour of the Cape, 91 for their high, and only isolated showers possible. Some clouds here on the first coast tomorrow, and just a few hit-and-miss showers, not a big possibility. Going to be warm once again with a high of 91 to 96 degrees. The sunrise tomorrow morning at 6:41. Out on the water, tomorrow winds will be out of the southwest at 15 knots. Seas 2 to 3 feet and a moderate chop on the inland waterways. The low tide at 11:38 in the morning, the high tide at 6:32. Here's the extended outlook. A little bit better chance of rain as we work our way through the week. Possibilities ranging between 30 and 40%, with temperatures not dropping much, maybe 92 by Thursday. Recapping then for tonight, muggy and 73, and an afternoon thunderstorm tomorrow, and 95. And several record lows were set throughout the United States. Up in northern Michigan, where actually it's been so cool up there, the leaves are already beginning to change.
I love hearing about these. It makes you feel so good because it's so hot here.
Yeah. If you want to find the cool weather, head north.
I think we can wait for the leaves to turn here.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Kristen. The opening ceremonies for the Summer Olympics will be held tonight in Barcelona. The all-star U.S. basketball team will be among those getting a lot of attention. As Bill Dorman reports, all the excitement for the Dream Team is helping corporate advertisers.
Look at him behind the back. Oh, Michael Jordan.
Call it the Dream Team, media shorthand for the NBA All-Stars taking on the world in Olympic basketball. While Magic, Michael, and Larry are shooting for the gold, corporate America also has a stake in the team. More than a dozen all-star companies scrambled to sign on as team sponsors. IBM, McDonald's, Visa, AT&T, just a few who have paid anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to get in on the action.
They call it the Dream Team, and that's really been true. I mean, there's never been an Olympic team with this much cachet before. I mean, we've never had a team where everybody knows all of the players before the games even begin. So it really represents a unique situation.
And a marketing dream. Corporate sponsorship and promotion will total more than $100 million. AT&T has been bullish on its Scottie Pippen ads, and company officials expect to score with them even after the closing ceremonies in Barcelona.
The actual event usually always takes place on one day or over a series of a couple of weeks when you look at something like the Olympics, but it's the marketing advantage you have around that property that can carry on for several months, and that's where you start getting the value back on what you paid.
Skybox International is selling Dream Team playing cards and spending more than $7 million on team sponsorship and promotion. As with other corporate sponsors, the company hopes its Olympic expense turns out to be an investment that brings home the gold. Bill Dorman, CNN Business News, New York.
Talk about a big investment. Still to come on 17 First Coast News. Like father, like son, it's up, up, and away. That story and all the rest of the day's sports action when First Coast News returns.
Big news from the money store. Home equity loan.
Lucky number for the Braves tonight.
Man, you talk about a hot team, and I guess really I could just go ahead and cut the highlights of tonight's game.
Just from last week.
Right, just show the pitchers shutting them down. Really, all we'd have to do is show Atlanta pitchers mowing down Pirate batters, because Atlanta going for a club record-tying 13th straight win, and they've done it with a pitching staff performing like a broken record. Same results night after night. And the Braves staff has been spinning gems for about 2 months now, allowing less than 3 runs a game on average. No coincidence that in that time, Atlanta has won 36 games and lost just 10. Tonight, the Braves will throw Charlie Leibrandt to try and keep the win streak going. By the way, the Major League record for wins, consecutive wins, is 26, so Atlanta's still well over halfway away from that. Some good pitching in the American League today. Danny Darwin of the Boston Red Sox, pretty much just a journeyman starter most of his career, but he held Minnesota hitless into the 7th inning with strikeouts like that. But the Twins are the best hitting team in the big leagues, and it was just a matter of time. Kirby Puckett breaks up the no-hitter right here with his single, and the Twins have actually gone ahead to take the lead in that ball game. It's 3-2 Minnesota in the 8th inning. On to the rest of the American League scoreboard, where the Tigers just bombed by California, 9-0 today. Oakland leads Toronto 2-0. Ron Darling had a no-hitter broken up in that one, and Texas leads Baltimore 8-4 now in the 8th inning. On to tennis, and a pair of big names hooking up in the finals of the Canadian Open. It's Lindell and Agassi trying to tune their hard court game before next month's U.S. Open. You know, Lindell hasn't won a tournament all year. He used to be the dominator of the men's game, but he knocked McEnroe out of the quarterfinals of this tournament, and he beat Agassi in the first set today, and he beat him pretty easy, 6-3. But the Wimbledon champ, Andre Agassi, comes back. He takes the second set when Lindell hits the return long, and the third set, was a blowout. Agassi serves it out on match point. 3-6, 6-2, 6-love is how it finished. On to the women's U.S. Open, and it's Patty Sheehan sporting the Knickers look. Looks a little like Payne Stewart there, and she hits an approach on number 9 that Payne Stewart would be proud of as she nestles it up close. She's tied for the lead after 3 rounds. Pamela Wright was the leader after 2 rounds. She fell off the pace a bit today, but it wasn't because of this shot. Look at that nestle right up next to the hole. As we go to the leaderboard, where Patty Sheehan is -2, along with Julie Inkster, Dawn Coe, Donna Andrews, and Gail Graham, all 1 over par, 3 shots back. To the Senior British Open, and, well, don't look now, but Arnold Palmer is in the hunt, and he's also stuck for a second, but he did get the shot off, and it goes into the sand, though, on 18. He's at 1 over par. European golfer Neil Coles is the co-leader with this great approach shot. Look at this on 16. What a bounce. Only in Europe you get a hard bounce like that. Also at -1, though, is American Bob Charles, who had a chance to take the lead on 18, and he, too, has got the video going crazy, but this approach shot on 18 lands pretty close to the hole. He would miss that short putt, but he remains tied for the lead at -1. Practice makes perfect. Unfortunately for Davey Allison, it doesn't heal broken bones, but fractured and all, Allison climbed in for some practice laps today at Talladega. Of course, he needs the points to remain in the Winston Cup race. In all honesty, he probably shouldn't even race tomorrow's Die-Hard 500, what with his broken collarbone, broken wrist, and fractured arm.
Everything felt real good. I ran with cars on every side of me and didn't feel any discomfort at all.
Well, the Busch Grand National Series usually gives some lesser-known younger racers a chance to visit victory lane, but a lot of the big boys from the Winston Cup circuit were running the Fram 500K at Talladega today, and the big boys dominated the day. Ernie Irvan wins the race, Michael Waltrip was second, and Dale Earnhardt finished 4th. On to some two-wheeled motorsports. Robbie Knievel back at it last night in Portland, trying to clear 25 cars. Said he wanted to make the jump with his hands off the handlebars, but it was too windy. What a wimp. Well, anyway, he makes it look easy. Too easy, in fact, so let's take you back to last year, just in case you were tempted to try it at home. And, yeah, see, that's what happens when you do release the handlebars. Didn't this guy do a commercial, this is your brain on drugs? I don't know, because look at this. If this was an Olympic sport, that would not be the proper dismount. In fact, I'd give him a 0. Anyway, we've gotten to the point of the show where sports and politics, well, they overlap. Who is Bears coach Mike Ditka casting his vote for come November?
I'm all for Bush, 100%. No liberals, no more liberals.
I think Quayle should still get a ticket.
I think Quayle's a great guy. I love everything about him.
How do you spell potato, Mike?
Brown. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, and that's Ditka, D-I-T-K-A-E.
Yeah, right. Big surprise there. I could have guessed he's a huge Bush fan.
Yeah.
Still to come tonight. Okay, so you might have to keep everybody at arm's length. Delving into a garlic lover's delight. That story when we come back.
This is no ordinary birthday party. It's Champions Craft and Decorating's 40th.
In Florida. Was it the launch pad at Cape Canaveral, the Capitol building in Tallahassee, or the Dial Up Church building in Jacksonville? The answer is the Dial Up Church building at the foot of the Main Street Bridge was first to use skyscraper technology. Designed by famed architect Henry Clouthier, the 6-story building at 6 East Bay Street went up in 1901, just months after the Great Jacksonville Fire. This First Coast Fact is brought to you by the Jacksonville Chamber of Commerce.
$11.99 dispatch. We got a motor vehicle crash.
This is mine.
I've been here Here on 17 First Coast News, a movement is underway to help save thousands of lives each year. Family members of traffic accident victims are pushing for laws requiring shoulder belts in the back seat. And controversial rap singer Ice-T holds his first U.S. concert since releasing the song Cop Killer. We'll have those stories and much more tonight at 11. And finally tonight, garlic is the herb of choice in Gilroy, California this weekend. At least 130,000 people are expected to come here for the 15th annual Garlic Festival. Shrimp scampi sauteed in garlic, that looks good, tons of it, is just one of the delicacies. And here's a crowd pleaser, bread dipped in butter and basted with a pungent root. To finish off the meal, many head over to the Gourmet Alley for a scoop of garlic ice cream. Ooh, I think I'll stick with vanilla or chocolate. Have you ever had scrambled eggs sauteed in garlic?
No.
That's really good. Try that.
I do like garlic, so I probably would like it.
That would be really good. It sounds gross, but it's good. A balmy evening.
Yeah, humid tonight, but temperatures getting down to about 74 degrees. It looks like most of the rain will stay away. Live Oak may pick up a shower in the next couple of hours, but it looks like here on the First Coast will be fairly dry.
Good weekend. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you at 11. Good night.